Hey everybody, we're going to look at 10-2, applying angle relationships. We can use our knowledge of the angles formed by parallel lines and transversals to find missing measurements. In the following examples, we are going to write and solve equations to help us find the missing information. Okay, so we have a problem here. We have Elm Street is parallel to Cedar Drive. Elm Street is parallel to Oak Street, and Cedar Drive is our transversal. Okay, we are going to find each of the marked angles. So we need to find out, what is this angle measurement here? What is this angle measurement here? What's different than 10-1 is these do not have angle measurements. They have expressions, and we have to find them. The first thing that we want to do is we want to figure out if those two expressions are equal to each other, or if they're supplementary to each other. The way that we figure that out is we use our definitions that we learned in 10-1. What kind of angle relationship do we have? Well, the top expression is located on the right of the transversal on the top of the parallel line. The bottom expression is also located on the right of the transversal on the top of the parallel line. So they are both corresponding angles. And what we learned yesterday, or in 10-1, is that corresponding angles are congruent. So I'm going to use my abbreviation for corresponding angles, and must be congruent. And congruent means equal measure. Okay, so we're going to set those expressions equal to each other. In order to find out what those angles are, we need to find out what x is so we can plug it in and figure out what those angle measurements are. So we need to know what x is. So like I said earlier, corresponding angles must be congruent, so we're going to set those two expressions equal to each other. Okay, and we know that if we have a variable expression, or if we have variables on both sides of the equal sign, that we should try to get rid of the smallest variable term first. So my variable terms are 9x and 3x. My smallest one is 3x, so I'm going to get rid of that by subtracting it on each side. As long as I can get rid of the smallest variable term, then my variable is always going to be positive, which is much easier to work with. I now have a two-step equation. I need to get that variable term by itself first by getting rid of the constant term, that 61 that's hanging out with it. So we do the opposite of what's there. And I'm left with 6x is equal to 124. My last step of the two-step equation is to get rid of the coefficient of x, so x is all by itself. So I'll divide on each side of the equation by 6. I'm going to get x is equal to 7. But remember, that's not what it asked us. It says find the measure of each marked angle. Well, the top angle is 9x plus 61, or 9 times whatever x is plus 61. We know what x is. We know that x is 7. Okay, so when I plug that in, that is going to give me 124 degrees. The bottom one, 3 times 7 plus 103 also gives me 124 degrees. And that's what we would expect because the angles are congruent. Their angle measures should be equal to each other. Number 2, it says the side view of the table is shown and the top of the table is parallel to the bottom of the table. Okay, and we have this transversal here. Well, it also has the other leg of the table, so if you can kind of imagine that part's not there, then it might make it easier on you. So again, you have to identify what kind of relationship's going on between those two angles. Okay, are they corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, or vertical angles? They are none of those. They are actually on the same side, on the inside of the parallel lines. You can tell that this one down here is acute. This one up here is obtuse. Okay, so they are actually supplementary angles. Okay, and you probably will recognize that because 17x minus 9 and this angle over here is, they are alternate interior angles, so they are congruent to each other, and this makes a, I don't know where that went. This makes a supplementary pair. So supplementary angles add to 180. So we're going to have to set those two expressions. They're going to have to add with each other and set them equal to 180. We still need to know what x is before we can figure out what those two measurements are. Okay, so again, 7x minus 9 plus 4x is equal to 180. Okay, here your two variables are on the same side, so all we need to do is we need to combine 7x and 4x. That's going to give us 11x minus 9 equals 180. Two-step equation, get that 11x by itself by adding 9 to each side. 11x is equal to 189. Okay, and divide each side by 11. Let's see, 189 divided by 11. You know what? I surely did something wrong. That's 17x. So I kept looking at that thinking it didn't work out right. So that should be 21x minus 9 equals 189. So that should be 21x. We'll divide each side by 21. Gives us 9. Sorry about that. Okay, so x is equal to 9. We're going to plug them into each of our expressions. We have 17 times whatever x is, which we now know is 9, minus 9. Okay, and the other one that we have is 4 times 9. Okay, we can figure out what both of those are, plugging them into our calculator. The first one is 144 degrees. The second one is 36 degrees. Okay, and we know that those two are not going to equal each other because they are supplementary, but what they should do is add up to 180. 144 plus 36 does give us 180. All right. We have another pair that is on the inside of the parallel lines, and but they are on the same side of the transversal. So we do not have alternate interior angles going on, but we do know that this angle is congruent to this angle because they are alternate interior angles. So 3x plus 7 and 7x, or 10x plus 17 does equal 180 degrees. So let's put our like terms together. We've got 3x plus 7 plus 10x plus 17 is equal to 180. Our like terms are 3x and 10x, which give us 13x. We have 7 and 17, which give us 24, equals 180. These two-step equations should be getting very easy for you. Subtract the 24 on each side. Okay, and I've got 13x is equal to 156. And divide each side by 13. And the value of x is 12. Okay, our angle measures have to plug those in. The first one is 3 times whatever x is, which we now know is 12, plus 7. Okay, and then the second one is 10 times x plus 17. Okay, so 3 times 12, 36, plus 7 gives us 43 degrees, and the second one will give us 137. Again, those two angles are not going to be the same because they are supplementary, which means if you add them up, they should equal 180. Okay, let's take a look at number 4. All right, we have them on the same side, even though the parallel lines are directioned a different way. the two exterior angles are on the same side, so they are not alternate exterior angles. However, 11x minus 9 is the same as this angle right here. So I'm going to go ahead and write 11x minus 9 because they are alternate exterior angles. So then you know that the 7x minus 9 and the 11x minus 9 are supplementary angles. Okay, so they add up. Supplementary means they add up to be 180 degrees. So we have 11x minus 9 plus 7x minus 9 equals 180. Okay, so we're going to add our like terms together, 17x, and our like constants minus 18 equals 180. And that's an 18x, okay? So I add 18 to each side. 18x is equal to 198. Okay, divide each side by 18, and x should equal 11. All right, if I'm going too fast, just pause it. This is a long lesson, and I just don't want you to look at a 35-minute video and freak out, so I'm going a little bit too quick, I think. Let's go ahead and plug in x. We have 11 times x, which is 11, minus 9. The second one is 7 times x, which is 11, minus 9. So 11 times 11 minus 9 is equal to 112 degrees. Okay, 7 times 11 is 77, minus 9 gives us 68 degrees. All right, so we've had 3 in a row that were supplementary, so I'm glad that number 5, we see that we have alternate interior angles. They're on alternate sides of the transversal, and alternate interior angles equal each other. So when I write the equation, negative 8x plus 8 equals negative 6x plus 20. This whole lesson is about, do they equal each other or do they add up to equal 180? So these equal each other, so what we know is that our angle measures down here should be the same value. If they're not, we've done something wrong. All right, so our first rule is when we have variables on both sides is to eliminate the smallest variable term. Well, negative 8 is more negative than negative 6, so that's our smallest variable term. So I'm going to add 8x to each side. And I'll be left with 8 is equal to 2x plus 20. Okay? And then what I need to do from there, I have a two-step equation. I need to get the 2x by itself, so I'll subtract 20 on each side. 2x is equal to a negative 12. Divide each side by 2, and you'll have a value of negative 6 for x. Some people don't like having a negative value of x. That's okay. What's not okay is if your angle measures are negative. All right, so let's plug them in. Negative 8 times a negative 6 is a positive 48. Don't forget to add the 8 to it, and that's going to give us a positive 56 degrees. Okay. The bottom angle, negative 6 times negative 6, is a positive 36, plus 20 does give us a positive 56 degrees. Okay, they're equal to each other. All right, hopefully you're getting the hang of it. The hardest part is trying to determine if you have a supplementary relationship or do you have one of those congruent angle relationships, corresponding angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or vertical. Let's see what we've got going on number 6. Okay, on number 6, we've got on the exterior the parallel lines. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, so you do have alternate exterior angles. Okay, they are congruent to each other, which means their expressions are going to be equal to each other, which means we should have the same kind of angle measures down here. So let's see if that works out. I'm going to get rid of my smallest variable term first. Okay, I'm left with 6 is equal to 3x minus 39. Okay, I've got my two-step equation. I've got to get that 3x by itself, so I'm going to add 39 to each side of the equal sign, and that's going to give me 45 is equal to 3x. I'm going to divide each side by 3 to get the x all by itself, and x is equal to 15. Okay, let's plug it in. 5 times x, which is 15, plus 6, that is going to give me 81 degrees. Okay, and the next one, 8 times 15 minus 39, also gives me 81 degrees. Okay, let's take a look at number 7. All right, they are on the same side of the transversal. Are they supplementary? No, it looks like their angles are congruent to each other. They are corresponding angles. They're both located on the top of the parallel line to the left of the transversal, so I'm going to put corresponding. All right, so that means that they are equal to each other. 15x minus 2 is equal to 11x plus 34. Again, we know that at the bottom for angle measures, because they're equal to each other, those two angles should be the same. And those two angles are obtuse, so they should be more than 90 degrees. Let's see if that works out. We're going to get rid of the 11x first because it's smallest. And I'm left with 4x minus 2 equals 34. I'm going to add 2 to each side. And I have 4x is equal to 36. I'm going to divide each side by 4. And the value of x is 9. Okay, so we're going to plug in 15 times x, which is 9, minus 2, and 11 times x, which is 9, plus 34. Okay, so 15 times 9 minus 2 is 133 degrees. Okay, plug in your calculator. 11 times 9 plus 34. So that's 99 plus 34. Yep, that also gives me 133 degrees. One last one. This is a long lesson, guys. Okay, we have this angle here, this angle here. Okay, so as you can see, these are supplementary angles. Okay, so if we add them up, they will equal 180 degrees. That means we're going to have two different angle measures down here. All right, so we have negative 5x plus 32 minus 20x plus 48, I'm running out of room here, is equal to 180. Okay, so I'm going to add my like terms together, which is a negative 5x and a negative 20x. That's going to give me a negative 25x. Then I've got 32 and 48. Add those together, gives me a positive 80, equals 180 degrees. Okay, two-step equation. Got to get the negative 25x by itself first, so I'm going to subtract 80 on each side. Okay, when I do that, I've got negative 25x is equal to 100, and we'll divide each side by a negative 25. Again, it's okay to get a negative answer for x, and in this case our answer is negative 4, just as long as our angle measures are positive. So we have negative 5 times a negative 4, which is going to give us a positive 20, plus 32, that's going to give us 52 degrees. Okay, the second one is a negative 20 times a negative 4, it's going to give us a positive 80, plus 48, it's going to give us 128 degrees. Okay, and we knew they weren't going to be equal. We just need to make sure that they add up to 180, and 52 plus 128 does give us 180. All right, that's it, guys. When you're doing the prep work, check and see what your angle relationships are for each of these. You're also going to probably need a separate sheet of paper to show your work. Okay, there's not enough room there unless you write really small to do all the things that you have to do. All right, good luck. Let me know if you need any